is Cav Manning and Billy Body with you again. Another year. This time, it's Lock Betting Podcast, Billy. We are back, and we're going to be giving you gambling tips galore. We always give you point picks versus the spread, and we're doing a little something, the same kind of a thing, but a little bit different this year, because this is going to be first our NFL preview with the overs and the unders and the betting odds on who's going to win the divisions. This show is going to be your NFC rundown. The other show that is going to be out pretty much same time, they're going to be all back-to-back. That is going to be your AFC rundown with all your odds. We'll give you our winners, who do you think's going to the Super Bowl eventually. We're going to get through all of that, but this is our new area. Like I said, it's from Lock Betting, Billy boy.
Yep. I've been posting some stuff on here. This is where you can get... so I did a show on the Sports Gambling Podcast. It was I'm allowed to do the English Premier League and one European league, and it was voted to be the German league. And then the German league was voted out by the Italian league, but it was really close. And a lot of those people were disappointed that they lost their German soccer. So every week, Das Bundesliga show, the German league, is here on this show. We've been doing on this feed. We've been doing it for 4 weeks, so you'll be getting that along with the NFL. And we've also moved our pay-per-view, WWE and AEW pay-per-view previews here. And if you missed the AEW one, you would have missed a ton of money. So you can just go back and listen to that. And if you're a wrestling fan, you'll see how much.
Yeah, look at the date and the time on it. So this was before it happened. I don't want to hear this nonsense with people. I mean, listen, we're talking to people who bet, so it's a different audience. I don't need to say that kind of stuff. These are proper human beings that listen to this kind of thing. So, yeah, and this is all like, if anybody looks, because this is a simulcast on multiple different podcast hosts right now, so if you're not listening to this on Lock Betting, wherever you look for podcasts, type in Lock Betting Podcast. It will come up. You'll see like Floyd Mayweather holding money to his ear like it's a phone. That's where you want to go. Subscribe, and you're going to get shows from each week. But there's going to be a little something different to it, right, Billy? It's our six-pack.
Yeah, so this year, because we've been doing so well with our locks, you will get our six-pack. Now, if you're over at lockbetting.com, if you're one of my lockbetting.com clients, then this doesn't apply to you. You'll continue to get all of our picks on that top package. But for those of you that don't want to pay $125 a month because you say, I don't bet tennis, I don't bet soccer, I don't bet any of these other sports, I'm just a football guy and I just want to bet on the football season, well, you can get our football picks every single month. It's just $60 for the pack. So it's just one package on there. It's $60 a month, and you will end up getting 3 picks from me, 3 picks from Cav. That's a 6-pack. That should be 24 picks altogether. Some months that's going to be 30 just because of the way months work. So you could end up getting up to 30 picks. You'll get a minimum of 24. So that is under $1.50 a pick, if my maths is right. And you'll be paying $30 a pick over on somewhere like Doc Sports. So someone like Doc Sports have a worse record than both of us. They charge $30 a pick.
For a pick, $30.
Yeah, that website, you know, with that robot.
Yeah, the robot guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to go through the divisions now. If you heard on this channel, on the Lock Betting channel, myself with the rest of the Lingus Mafia, we did our 3-hour NFL spectacular, but that wasn't with betting odds. That's a completely different show, and we gave you a lot of insights on everybody's schedule.
By the way,
yes,
my maths was appalling there. If it's a month where you get 24 picks, it's just going to be $2.50 per pick. If it's a month where there's actually 30 picks, it's $2 a pick. So it's not $1.50, sorry, but it is under $2.50. But it's still nowhere near $30 per pick, which they're heading over at Dog Sports. And the crazy thing is, over there, they charge $30 to purchase a pick, and they say we'll keep sending you picks to guarantee a profit. What they do is, you pay $30 for a pick. If it loses, they give you another $30 pick, right? Mm-hmm. So only break even. If they lose 2 in a row and then you win on the third one, they consider profit, even though you're 1 Like, it's the worst and most and all of these guys are corrupt. I swear, like, I'm one of the only people you can trust because I publicly post my record on my Twitter account every single month, and all of those spreadsheets remain on the lockbetting.com site. All these other guys, all records are invisible. You don't see them.
See, so that's what drives me crazy too, is when people try to go, oh, it's impossible that you have this many in a row, and it's like, you have to explain to them, this is all transparent for one, so you can see that this was all on the up and up from before. However, I think a lot of people think it is, well, if I pick and choose what I'm taking from you, I'm automatically going to win for the month. It is, if you bet every single thing that Billy has told you to bet, you will always be ahead. And he has 111?
Yeah, 111. And the pick and choose part, that's absolutely pointless. If you're
that's
coming
called
on
gambling.
I'm always going to lose customers here from saying this, but if you pick and choose, that completely invalidates everything that I'm saying. If you pick and choose, you may as well go to YouTube and pick and choose. You may as well go to Google, because it's not difficult to get information to assist you with what you're doing. There's so many people there writing about betting now. It's becoming legalized all across the US. It's becoming much more easier to do. So there's everybody out there with an opinion on YouTube, and some guys are good, but you got to find the guys that are good. And are those guys going to be good consistently every week? Because you can be like, oh, I found a good guy. Oh my God, this guy turned to shit this season or this week or this month or whatever. So yeah, it's consistency that you're looking for. I have that consistency for 111 months without a single losing month. If I have 9 more months of profit, that will be a fucking decade without losing a month in betting. And all the spreadsheets are there. Like, you can't be more consistent than that. So as I said, you can go find your guys. Some guys are good. Some guys are free. Some guys are just sitting on YouTube and they're doing okay. But you know, don't pay for my service and then pick and choose, because you have the option every single day to pick and choose and to listen to the opinions of everybody. You have guys on YouTube, you have writers, you even have the guys on TV. Like, they give you the picks before the games. The 4 guys sitting there before every game on Thursday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. They sit there and go, oh, well, I think this or I think that. Well, you can just tell them. That's the same thing as picking and choosing. You shouldn't do that. If you're going to pay to have someone's advice, don't then try to override the advice.
So let's get into the first division we want to talk about. That is the NFC East. Remember, like 2 years ago, it was you get 7 wins and you win this whole division, and it changed. Right. It changed last year. What are your odds on everybody to win this division?
Yeah, I immediately, this caught my eye when I was doing my research. I knew the Eagles had got better, but I didn't know that they were joint favorites with the Cowboys here. It's 11-8 on the Eagles. It's 11-8 on the Cowboys. It's 11-2 on the Washington Redskins. I'm not going to say the other name, and it's 8-1 on the Giants.
You know, it's interesting because I look
Can
at
we call them Redskins all year, every show?
Just what are you kidding? You're asking me like I'm going to say no? Are you kidding me? Hell, I still say San Diego and Oakland.
San Diego, the San Diego Chargers.
Yes, those are the for sure's. Yeah, and it's the Cleveland Indians too. I don't give a shit. So I'm looking at this, and I think you're going to be very surprised by some of my picks actually this year. I went out there with a few things when it comes to going to playoffs and this and that. Last year, we were all very high on Washington, but rightfully so, because if you just look at, we said Washington would win this division. Fitzpatrick was the quarterback for 2 minutes, and he got hurt. So it was like, well, they had a capable quarterback, and once that kind of thing is out the window, you go, well, you kind of can throw your bet out the window if it's like if Rodgers breaks his leg, it's over. It's done. It's one of those things, right? So going to the over-unders, here is Dallas is listed at 10.5. Philly is right behind them with 9.5. And then you have Washington and the Giants both tied with 7.5. For me, I think Dallas has the more proven quarterback in this division. Some people might say, whoa, Hurts is there. Hurts has to show me something for more than 1 year. He had his little flashes, I guess, this last year, but still only had 9 wins. I mean, they snuck in, right? But at the same time, we thought good on Washington because they had Fitzpatrick, who was hurt like game 1 and was done. So they didn't do anything. And then Daniel Jones, forget about it. So for me, it's always going to be like best quarterback in the division unless I see like the whole team around the guy is really good and the quarterback's okay. So what are you thinking now for over-unders when we got Dallas at 10.5, Philly at 9.5, Washington and Giants at 7.5? Where are you going with this?
It's really difficult because you can see both those teams going over. I certainly think the Eagles go over 9. I actually agree with you that I still think Dallas are the better and more reliable team. However, a lot of this comes down to scheduling. Now, we all know like all the East have to play each other, and you would expect these two teams, with the way that Philadelphia have strengthened, to get 4 wins there. They should beat Washington twice. They should beat New York twice. But the offseason and the schedule is what I'm looking at here. The offseason has seen them get A.J. Brown, Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox is there. Like, you could go on and just talk about it. It's that and the easy schedule that they've got. When you talk about Hurts, he's going to have targets like Devontae Smith and Brown. Like, this is an elite offensive line, and they've got a good running game as well, and Jalen Hurts can run the ball as well. So there's so much that they can do, and there's so many weapons there. Maybe it might not all come together, but then you add to it the schedule, and it's weak as week 1, Detroit. Then you go to you're at Detroit. Then you're at home to Minnesota, which is obviously easier than going to Minnesota. Then you're at Washington, Jacksonville, at Arizona, who at that point haven't got, oh God, who was it?
Hopkins.
Hopkins isn't. Then you play your first real difficult game on week 6 is against Dallas, but you're at home for that. Then you get the bye at the nice time of week 7. You come back and play this Pittsburgh team who no one knows what they're going to be like. We'll talk about more of them on the AFC side of things. Then you're at Houston, Washington, at Indianapolis. You're home to Green Bay, Tennessee. That could be difficult, but you're at home. They seem to get all these difficult teams at home. Green Bay at home, Tennessee at home. Then you're at New York, at Chicago, at Dallas. That could be a loss. Then you're at home to New Orleans and the Giants. Is this the easiest schedule you've ever seen, or the easiest schedule this year? Like,
it does sound pretty easy, yeah.
Where like you can see them losing 5-6 games there and not winning this division, or at very least like not meaning that over 9 is one of the best locks that we're going to come across like this early on.
See, that's funny because I think they'll win 9 again, and for me, like I said,
Really, you found 8. Tell me the 8 losses you found there.
Well, what I have, my biggest issue, like I said, is Hurts. Like, they could be a good team, but if he costs them, that's my biggest issue. Is just him. Like, well, if he can't get the ball to the guys, well, then what the fuck? He's a very much a show me guy. If he goes crazy, like, as much as I don't know shit about Fields, right? He's played 1 year and done. If someone said to me, I'll trade you Hurts for Fields, I would not do it. I think there's more of an upside with Fields and not knowing than already of what I've seen from Hurts. That's my biggest issue.
No, I don't agree with you. I think Hurts is good. Okay. And I feel that like, with those weapons, he has more people to throw to. So we'll probably see like less rushing from him. But at the same time, we know this guy can rush for 40, 50 yards a game. Really. Yeah. So yeah, I just feel they're very well set up. I was surprised at the total and then to see them level with Dallas, because a couple of months ago when you first start thinking about the NFL, you start to have an idea as to who you're going to bet or whatever. But as you keep looking at it, I see Eagles coming in a lot. And when you dig deeper, it makes a lot of sense because, as I said, reiterate, Dallas are good. Dallas are probably better. When Dallas play the Eagles on this schedule, they could actually beat them twice. But at the end of the day, like, the rest of the schedule is weak, and the longer these people have to play together, the stronger they're going to get. And it's a lot easier when you start with the schedule that they have that we just ran through than it is when you start with a difficult schedule where, you know, you'll be looking at it and going, oh shit, they'll be lucky to go 1-4 from these first 5 games. I don't get that. I think they would be disappointed if they didn't go 4-1 from this one, because they start with as I was going through Detroit. They start with three road trips in their first 5 weeks, but they're going to Arizona, Detroit, and Washington. Like, they should win all of those games. Maybe they lose to Arizona, but then who do they lose to at home? Do they lose at home to Minnesota? Do they lose at home to Jacksonville? Like, the very, very worst. At the very worst, after 5 games, they'll be 3-2.
Do you know?
They'll go into their bye week 3-3. That would be majorly disappointing if they've lost to Dallas, Arizona, and Minnesota, and just beat the easy teams that are expected to have under 6 wins. That would be a poor start. 3-3 would be a poor start for the Eagles, and I think that says it all about their schedule.
Do you know, according to Vegas, as of today, the most bet on team right now, the new trend is Philly. Everyone is jumping on the Philly bet. So I don't know if that's good or bad. To win more.
To win an over 9.
Yeah. Like, it's like everybody is jumping on that. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So
usually it's a bad thing, but like, when you look at it, you're really finding it hard to see how they lose 8 games. It would be a disaster if they lost 8 games. So, I mean, that the worst stat selection is going to be a push. This is a team. Another bet I like is for them to get into the playoffs, which is available at -140. They have to get to the playoffs here. I don't see how. I mean, if you're looking across the board at the NFC, you would think their main rivals, the people that would be close with them, would be the likes of New Orleans and Arizona, and I think they're better than them.
So when we go through some of these, right, with the top more tier teams that we do your over-unders, the lower ones, I think we're just going to flat out give you an under or over, because it'd be like, what do I really need to talk to you about Atlanta? Things like that, right? So going into Dallas, that is that over-under of 10.5. Do you think they're going over it? They had 12 last year. I'm going over. I think at least 11.
They've lost like Amari Cooper, haven't they?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who else they've lost. Looking at this schedule, I think they'll go. I think they'll go over. I think this division will have. Oh, but theirs is 10. No, I think I lean the under here for them.
Really?
I lean the under. I think the East has improved, but these are going to be the 2 like standout teams who I expect to be up there at the top. But I just feel that they'll go. It's under 11, right? So the 10 wins would be.
They got to get 10 would be under. Yeah,
it's 10.5. Yeah, I'll go under.
So here's another thing. So looking at, like we were saying, you're like, oh, I think, Philly, you're hardcore with the over for it, and a very good explanation of why. The Giants, I think, should be a hardcore under. They won 4 games last year. Daniel Jones is horrible. Their over-under is 7.5.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to move up that much.
That is crazy. What did they get to do that? I mean, nothing. Well,
so I'm reading up on it. They went 4-7 with Daniel Jones, right? So he only actually played 11 of those games, and Glennon and Jake Fromm played as well. They went 0-6. So that sort of plays into it a little bit. That sort of makes it make a lot more sense. I'm not saying that it's justifiable, I'm only seeing the over/under for them at bang on 7, not 7.5.
Oh, see, I was looking. This is from yesterday when I got this stuff, and this was a Vegas site.
Officially, the New York Giants have the easiest schedule in the NFL.
And I don't know if it matters. It's like they're still bad. I see. What's another interesting one is that Washington won 7 last year, and they're over under 7.5, and they got Carson Wentz. So they upgraded to a quote unquote MVP caliber until he broke his legs. Wentz, and they've accounted half a game for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So they have the easiest schedule, but if you actually dig deeper into that, they're favored in the. So what they do, they put out these projections for all of the games or early on, like all 17 weeks have projected lines already, which is insane. You'd never do that in soccer. But they're favored in 4 of those 17 games.
Jeez.
So they're the favorite, in 4 games.
Wow. Okay. I would take the over for Washington. I would think Carson Wentz, as shitty as he's had a time, he's got to be one game better than they were last year. Now you got Young back on defense. They got a strong defense. So can he maintain to get one extra win?
I don't know. Like this team haven't won 8 games ever, or they've won it in 2016 was when they won 8. So their record in that span since 2016 is 28-50. Mm-hmm. So you want me to bet on them to go over when their record's 28-50? They've got Carson Wentz here. He's massively inaccurate. Now he's back in the division where he's playing against the Philadelphia Eagles as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like if he was good, he wouldn't have been released.
He wouldn't have been shipped off of Indy.
So it's like I almost feel like they overspent here on Wentz, and if he doesn't, they overspent on Wentz, and they didn't address other problems. Like I don't think their secondary is good, and I don't think they're good at linebacker. They got the 6th easiest schedule, which is a lot harder than what the Giants have as well, and the Eagles in this division. I didn't actually see where the Eagles' schedule ranks because I'm not on that page now in my notes. But yeah, I don't think that they'll get the. I don't think they'll get 8 wins here.
Okay.
I just don't see there being any reason. Like if comparison, they're all over the place. Like last year they were supposed to do well because they had a really good defense, and then the defense was poor. Now they come in like with a different quarterback, and I don't know. This team I think are forever doomed to just be where they are, which is just going to be the 3rd team in this division. Like the Giants will be shit, and then the Giants will have a period where they get good again, but then someone else will drop down to being the worst team in this division. Like the Eagles will go for a patch where they're just horrible, but it's never going to be about Washington. I don't think. I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know what's wrong with this franchise. This is the capital city franchise, but I just don't.
The ownership.
I just don't take it seriously. Yeah.
Do you want to give your division winner here, or after we're done with all the divisions?
No, we'll give the division winner now. We'll move on from the division. Just on the ease of schedule. I do lean on the Eagles. At first, as I said, it didn't make sense to me entirely. But as I dug deeper and looked through the schedule and worked it out, and I ended up coming to a very conservative 11 wins for them, which is one more than Dallas. That's how I get there. Okay,
I'm picking Dallas to do well this year. So, like I said, I picked them to be over the 10.5. So, and they were 12 last year. So, I will pick Dallas to win that division.
But the best bet overall out of the whole, I think, is the Eagles total. The Eagles over under.
Yeah, you're big on that one. I'm big on the under for the Giants. I go the opposite way.
Right.
Okay, let's go to the South in the NFC. What are the odds for everybody in the South?
All right. So in the NFC South, we have the Bucks as the favorites at 1-2. Then it's pretty wide after that. Saints 3-1, Panthers 10-1, and Falcons 25-1.
I made a bet with a guy who listens to my show, just a straight up bet. He's in New Orleans. He lives over there, and it's New Orleans versus Tampa. Not the game, but who takes the division. I go, I'll take that bet. No problem.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
So
he straight up bet me. He says Saints will win the division. I said, I have no problem to bet you. So here's what happened last year. It was Tampa Bay got 13 wins. New Orleans had 9. Carolina had 5. Atlanta had 7. Going down these totals now. Tampa Bay over-under is 11.5. New Orleans is 8.5. Carolina is 6.5. Atlanta is 4.5. What are you thinking for Tampa Bay? Are they over or under 11.5?
I think they're winning the division. Yeah. I'm not sure how many wins they'll get. It's a tough one. It's not one I would necessarily bet, but I would lean narrowly on the under, just because this is the highest win total in the whole of the NFC. But they should clear it easily if Tom they should clear it, not easily, but they should come close to clearing it if Brady's healthy, which is why I'm not that interested in betting it either way, but like we're kind of forced to pick here. I don't think it will come within their division. It will come in the games like outside of their division. Sure. They have other injuries as well, like Chris Godwin will miss the season. The first few weeks, and will miss the first few weeks of the season because he's got a torn ACL. Yeah. Gronk retired. Mike Evans has a hamstring injury, but I think
Gronk's coming back week 10.
Is he?
Yes, it's practically been like written down. It's been reported, and like I think Gronk's person said, and here's the thing though, it's if Tampa is doing well by week 10, he will jump in. So he will wait to sign until then, and he'll jump in like at that point. But that's got to be like, I mean, hey, Tom gets hurt, something like that, and the team is trash. He's not going there. Maybe he would go to another team, though, because if that's off the table and he's willing to play, then why not be like, all right, well, I'll jump on a good team.
You're looking at this team to just do what they do and be the same team and go 12-5 here to cash this bet. But in that, you're saying, okay, right, so the same team as last year wins the division and they get 12 wins and they're a high seeded team in the NFC, like either challenging for 1 or 2, but then you have to turn around and say like, okay, so losing Gronkowski and Goodwin from your passing game and replacing them with like Russell Gage is good enough to still be exactly the same. Is that what you think will be the case? Like, you think him coming in just says like, okay, you take these 2 guys out, you put this guy in, and it's all the same.
The only reason,
and your guy's 45 now too.
Yeah, and I'm not crazy on Tampa this year at all. It's really weird. It's almost like the only thing you've heard from them is weird shit, like that Giselle has run away and Tom was missing for fucking week. There's weird shit, but at the same time, if anybody is doing something where there's just different receivers that come in, Tom did this for how long in New England? They had like one receiver, or they had the little guys too, but like there was never any like superstar other than Moss. So I'm like, well, it's not like he's like, oh my God, I don't have my, my monster or something, because it just seemed to do this with everybody. That's the only thing where I'm like, I think they could get to 12. I don't think they still get to 13, but 11.5, I think you can get to 12. And especially if they're beating up their own division. Because Carolina and Atlanta are going to be real easy. I don't know if he could beat New Orleans, because he can never beat New Orleans, which is fucking bizarre, unless it's the playoffs.
I mean, that's weird. Like, I mean, you could make a case for them possibly starting 0-2, and then even then, like, okay, so they're guaranteed to beat Green Bay. Like, they play us at home. They start with 2 road games in Dallas and New Orleans, which is rough. Then you're at home to Green Bay. Then you're at home to Kansas City. Then the guaranteed wins coming here. Look, you have
they could be 0-4 to start.
It could be, but they won't be. I mean,
new coach too.
At best, they'd be 3-1. They could be 2-2 there. Then obviously it gets lighter. You play Atlanta away, Atlanta at home, Pittsburgh away, Carolina away, Baltimore at home, the Rams at home as well. But you don't, as I said, you don't really want to be playing him. Then you got to go to Germany to play against Seattle, and then you get a bye, and then you go to Cleveland, who I think could be better this year. Then you're at home to New Orleans. Then you got to go to San Francisco. Then you play at home to Cincinnati, away to Arizona, at home to Carolina, and at Atlanta. So this evidently gets a lot easier after you navigate the first 4 games. So they can actually go 2-2 in those first 4 games and still probably get to the 12. Mm-hmm. But if they don't go 2-2 in those first few games, then it becomes a lot more difficult. Plus, you got to throw in like the possibility of these, like, stupid upsets, like on Thursday Night Football. If someone like Baltimore can come to Tampa and win, because they're not going to necessarily beat Green Bay and Kansas and Baltimore and the Rams just in those 4 games just because they're at home. Yeah, like, someone's going to bite them in the arse. Like, you can't give them 4 home wins because they're at home. Same way, like, I think they could lose week 1, like starting in Dallas. So yeah, I'm just going to go under there because there's just too many. The schedule's just too difficult. Like, the possibility. There's not a real possibility, but there is a possibility that if they're not right, they could start 0-4.
So going to New Orleans, which I find interesting because, Goodwin or Godwin, we always with this Goodwin, Godwin. Now he's out because he tore his knee, right? Old Seamus Winston, which I like to call him, he tore his at the end of the year, and he's starting this game? How's this possible? How's he normal?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm like, well, maybe it's because he doesn't need to run as much as like a receiver does, And it's like, well, you don't need that same standard of cutting around.
What's the length of the suspension that Alvin Kamara has to start the season?
I don't know. I do not know that. I could look it up, though. Let's see. Let's see what we got. Because that is a big one.
It's a big one because he missed 4 games last season and they lost every single one of them.
Yeah, that's brutal. Let's see. How long is he out? The standard is 6 games, they say.
Well, I'm just going to leave.
You know what? And here it is, August 15th. Oh, no, that's August 27th. So that's the latest. It's like they don't have anything. You know what? Suspension not likely until next year. So he's starting. Because there's no charges yet.
Well, I mean that's a positive for them and their win total and whatnot. But I mean, I'd still potentially lean under. Look, this is that Sean Payton's not going to be there, so this I feel could be like a transitional season where they're trying to get used to some new things. I don't think the expectation for them here is to get to the playoffs, but then you're New Orleans Saints. You're always really supposed to get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think their defense will be solid, and
I think they'll be the same as last year. 9 wins. I have them at an over 8.5.
Yeah, the schedule's not that inviting, though, is it? The Saints have like no easy games because they play the AFC North, don't they? This division. Mm-hmm. They got to go to they got to play Baltimore, Cincinnati, and then they're at Cleveland. Is Deshaun Watson playing in that game?
What week is it?
Week 15.
Oh, by then, yes.
Yeah,
I believe it's like the 11th game he's back. It's when they're facing Houston is his first game back.
So and then they also got on the schedule Rams, 49ers, Vikings, Eagles, Cardinals, and Raiders. So
yeah, that's rough.
I don't know. I think I'm got on the under. It's not a strong but I would.
All right, so quickly with the bottom feeders here, Carolina, who got Baker Mayfield, that has only given them a game and a half better than what they did last year with Darnold. They got 5 last year. This is for 6.5. I said over. I think they should get the 7 or 8 with. I don't think it was as much Baker's fault than a bad shoulder was. Because
what do you have on the win total for the Falcons? Is it just 5?
It's 4.5.
I got it bang on 5.
I still would say under. I said under 4.5.
Oh yeah, under 5 was my favorite bet. I'm not scared to move it to 4.5. They got Marcus Mariota in, but I don't think it's going to make a difference when your protection is really poor.
The whole team is horrible. And this is what I can't stand. NFL ranked the teams today. You know who they had dead last? Who is the worst team in the NFL this year supposed to be? The Bears. And I go, listen, I'm a Bears fan, of course. I am logical, and I have a brain. There is no chance. I would bet as much money as I possibly could get my hands on to take that bet. There is no way Atlanta's better than them. There is no way. Let's see who else is here. The Giants. There's no way. I don't think the Jets are better. I don't think Houston's better. Jacksonville might be the same. And Seattle's not as good. I'm like, please. That's insane. Possibly bottom 5, like the 5th. Definitely bottom 10, but not bottom 3.
I don't have this team winning a game until they play at home to Carolina on week 8.
Wow. Yeah, they probably split each other, right? You're playing home.
Yeah, I mean, look at the start. The start here is at home to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Then they go to the Rams, to Seattle, at home to Cleveland, at Tampa, at home to San Francisco, at Cincinnati, at home to Carolina. I think they'll win. Then they're at home to the Chargers. Then they go to Carolina. Then they're at home to the Bears. They might win that. Then they're at home to then they are at Washington, at home to Pittsburgh. They get their bye on week 14. They could beat Pittsburgh. Then they go to New Orleans. Then they go to Baltimore. Then they're at home to Arizona. That will depend on what Arizona have left to play for. And then you finish up with Tampa. If they get all the wins there that I've generously given them, bearing in mind, I think Arizona won't be in the playoffs. I've given them Arizona. I've given them Chicago. I've given him Carolina. Did I give them one more? Pittsburgh. That's 4.
Oh, I don't think they're beating Pittsburgh or Chicago.
You don't?
No. I think Pittsburgh is going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, well, that's it. What I'm saying is that I've been generous with those 4. You already don't agree with them, but I'm saying at their best chances come from those games.
Yeah, it's the best chance, and it's 4.
so how do you get them to 5? You don't get them to 5. Nobody gets them to 5 apart from their family members of the team.
My dad is going to win. What do you think quickly on Carolina being at 6.5? Are you over or under on that? Do you think Baker can take them to 7?
No, I'm under. I'm under on this division. You want to be on this division. This division helps boost the numbers of the
everyone else, the NFC, the AFC North.
Yeah, the AFC North. Yeah, that was it.
Okay, let's go. Our division winner obviously is going to be Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Going to the NFC North. This is ours, Billy boy. What are the odds?
Okay. The odds are 8-13 on Green Bay, 11-4 on the Vikings, 9-1 on Detroit, and 12-1 on the Bears.
Okay. So we had Green Bay with 13 wins last year. Their over-under is 10.5. Minnesota's was 8. Now they're at 9.5. Chicago's was 6. They're at 6.5. Detroit was at 3. They're at 6.5. What do you think for 10.5 for Green Bay? Because listen, you know me, but I'm tough but fair, right? I give credit where credit's due. I don't like Green Bay, but I know Rodgers is one of the greatest ever. I give credit. I'm down on them where it is going to be a running game and it is going to be trying to do defense because I think they're in big, big fucking trouble when it comes to receivers. So this is going to be, can Rodgers do one of those things where it doesn't matter who's playing? Does he just hit them in the hands? However, do these rookie receivers and the guys they get, because he was very down on them in the preseason. He was talking a lot of shit, which was like, why would you say bad stuff about your guys? Keep that shit down. But do they know what routes to run? He'll throw to the spot they're supposed to be. Will they be there? One of those things. So, and you know how he gets that frustration thing where he's like, I've got to play with guys who know what the fuck they're doing, that kind of thing. So for that, I'm thinking they would win 10 instead of being with the 13 that they were.
I don't know. Like, I looked through the schedule. It looks like they're facing a much tougher set of pass defenses this year. And they've just lost one of the best receivers in the league.
Yeah.
But like they've had a lot of success when Devontae Adams has been unavailable.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter that much by the time the season starts. So don't forget, like the Packers started week 1 last year by Aaron Rodgers deliberately getting them destroyed by New Orleans because he was protesting, and they still managed to get.
He just can't play in Florida apparently. That's his, he can't win in Florida. It's bizarre.
I mean, they have Aaron Rodgers. Matt LaFleur, I think, has established himself as one of the top 10 coaches. And now, the key thing they've done is they built one of the best defenses in the league, which they've never had before. So I don't think they're going to have any issue winning the division. The whole question marks remain about whether they replace Devontae Adams. They've also lost Valdez-Scantling, haven't they?
Yes. Yeah, he went to Kansas City.
But the defense is all first round. It's like Rashawn Gary, who's like one of the favorites to be defensive player of the year. Preston Smith, Kenny Clark, Devondre Campbell, Jay Alexander, Adrian Amos. They're all first round picks in the defense. So we're actually not going to be having fucking 20 points put up on us and us needing like Aaron Rodgers to do everything. Like it's going to be. We might actually catch some like unders this year in terms of betting totals on a separate point. But like since LaFleur took over the Packers, he's 18-6 in close games. So they've got Aaron Rodgers there. Like LaFleur knows how to close it out. Rodgers knows how to win close games. The defense is better. There'll be more. It's not as essential now. Like when we get on the field, it's like, oh fuck, Aaron, like save us. Like we need something. I don't think it's going to be like that. So I think the pressure's off him in a different way. Like whereas like obviously statistically, he may take a back seat, and it's going to be a case of like my ego is hurt because I'm throwing less touchdowns, and
he's going to hand off a lot.
Yeah, like so it's whether he can be a team player. And obviously you do want to hand off a little bit because if you look through the schedule, which I have done, the pass rushes that you're playing much better. The schedule's not easy. You start at Minnesota and then obviously you have the guaranteed win against Chicago every year in week 2, but then you play at Tampa in week 3. Like they could lose that Minnesota game and they could start 1-2. Which is not the situation that we want to be in. Like I looked at this and saw a scenario where we could start the season 4-2 at worst. after the first 6 games. Like, we could come into the London game 2-2 and really need to win that game, which I'm going to in week 5. But, after we do play Minnesota and Tampa away, it's New England at home. It's the Giants in London, which is their road game, but which is their home game, but it's a neutral territory where we'll beat them. We would have beat them in New York anyway. And then we do actually go to New York to play the Jets. We're at home. Sorry, we don't. Sorry, we're at home to the. Hold on a second.
How weird is it that they lost a home game to go to London?
Did they though?
Yeah,
because
it's that extra game though. You know what I mean? So I'm like, maybe that's why, because it's that 9th game instead of the 8th.
I thought this was Giants' home game, not ours.
No, we were talking about this yesterday, that it was the Packers.
Okay, so we're at home to the Jets anyway. After that, then we're at Washington, at Buffalo. That's a potential loss. At Detroit isn't. At home to Dallas, I don't think it is. At home to Tennessee, I'm automatically thinking we win all the games at Lambeau, but we won't. But we also won't lose all these games that I'm saying we'll lose to these big teams. We could lose at Philadelphia. Philadelphia are going to be as good as I think they might be. Then again, look, we play the Rams as well, which I say we should win because we're at home. And then the last 3 games at Miami, and then at home to Minnesota and Detroit. So I'm looking at this, and you can identify 4 losses on paper, which are going to be at Philadelphia. Fucking hell, I can't even go back and find them. At Tampa, at Philadelphia,
Buffalo,
potentially at Minnesota. Yeah, and that's the one. Sorry, at Buffalo. But then you're saying that, we're definitely going to win at home to the Rams. Well, if we lose at Lambeau to the Rams, or we lose at Lambeau to somebody else, like, I don't know, New England or Dallas, we could compensate by winning that first game against Minnesota. So I'm just taking an overall big picture of this, and it still gets us to, do the math here, 13-4.
Okay. So you'd go with the over on the 10.5. That's cool. I mean, I guess they're counting, that much of a drop. I don't have us
13-4. I have us at 12-5. Okay. I always add a loss. I always add a banana skin loss to the Packers just because I might be biased. So even so take the 4 games I think we'll lose, add the banana skin where I might have it wrong, and then it gets us to 12.
Okay, and by the way, Amos was a 5th round pick. So, and you know where he came from, right?
It says here where I'm reading we have 7 former 1st round picks as starters.
That's bizarre. Yeah, Amos came from the Bears. They picked him up the 5th fucking round. And then
was he not
free agent and left. He said, let me get to an organization who knows what the fuck's going on. Okay, Minnesota has a new coaching staff. That's what makes me think a lot better about them. And it's like maybe this coaching staff is helping Cousins a little bit better because Cousins, as we know, is a fucking, the laughingstock thing. They're doing the 9.5. I'm saying they're going over that. I'm actually very high on Minnesota this year. Just because I think they've looked different in what I've seen for preseason, and that they've got the coach who was the offensive coordinator from the Rams. So with that offense being different, they had to get rid of Zimmer and refreshen things up. It was been stuck for quite a while. So I think this is like one of Minnesota's, especially Cousins, like a last chance here. So I'll say over for 9.5. What do you think?
It's difficult with this one because, like I said, you have that game just to start with when you're working things out, and it's key because it takes if you go in Minnesota, you give a win to Minnesota, and it adds a loss to the Packers, which makes a significant difference which way that game will go. As for I won't have them winning the division, obviously, but then I do have them going over 9. I thought Zimmer was stale. You could see some games where they just threw it away, and you felt like they needed to change things.
Yeah.
And even under that staleness, I mean, he presided over a 30th ranked defense in total yards last season. So that was still a team that went 8-9.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me they need just one more win in that. That's to secure a push. Obviously, they need two more wins in that to actually cash it. But they didn't actually make a ton of moves aside from their like coaching staff. There isn't loads of like new people here like to work with. So it's essentially the same team. So it's just a case of looking at it and saying like, oh, was Zimmer the problem?
Was it all the coach?
Yeah.
Coaching goes a long way, because the way I look at with my team, with the whole new coaching staff, I see a completely different team now. Like I go, oh, somebody knows how to call a play. That's just a big difference to me. So
I think it helps their defense. Like they got their matchups now. You know, they have matchups with the AFC East and the NFC East. And last year, obviously, they were having to play the AFC North and the NFC West. So it's easier then. I think I see them getting to 9 or 10 wins here. Yeah, I think, as I said last year, they felt like a team who were just done with that in that regime.
Okay, so quickly on the two bottom feeders, I know everybody's very high with Detroit now because of Hard Knocks. This is another one of those darling bets where people are like jumping on them, where I'm like, it's the stupidest thing. It's still the stupidest thing. Aiden Hutchinson's going to be real fun to watch, because that fucker is going to be brutal on the defensive line, the draft pick that they got from Michigan. But they're at 6.5, and so are the Bears are at 6.5. What are you thinking over-unders for them?
I don't know. Like, do you think Jared Goff is competent?
No.
Do you think?
That's why it's like, I don't care. Like, my cousin tried to go, I said Goff's on the team, because he's on them, where he's like, oh, they're going to be good. And I'm like, you're mesmerized by TV. And he goes, Goff was horrible. He made it to the Super Bowl with the Rams. I go, look at who was on the Rams. I mean, that was everybody in the world great. All he had to do was manage a game. And so I'm like, and Stafford was on the Lions. And what did they ever do? Nothing. He went to the fucking Rams and won the Super Bowl. So look what, and we've decided that.
Do you think they were awful last season? I don't think
Who's
they were awful. Detroit.
They won 3 games.
Yeah, I know. They were 3-13-1, but
they were scrappy though. They didn't give up. They were tough, but it's still Jared Goff fucking it up.
There were 2-6 in close games. I think that a close game is defined by. I'm not sure.
A touchdown or 3, something like that.
Yeah.
We said Jared Goff's going to change his first name to Fa by the end of the year, so his name is going to be Fuck Off. I would say that they will be, at best, they're going to win 6 games. I still say they're going to be last place in this division, and I took over for the Bears, which I think they will have 7. So that's where I have both of those. What do you think?
I think the Detroit bet. I'll take the over.
Okay.
I remember last year they looked like they were getting better.
Mm-hmm.
At certain points. They did lose those close games, those heartbreakers. So I think under the second year they will be better. I haven't watched Hard Knocks, so there's nothing to do with it. But you guys. Oh, God, I don't know.
Do you really think, I mean, putting your, obviously, thoughts from Chicago out of it, do you really think that team is the worst in the NFL? I think that's insane. I mean, the things I've seen, obviously, I know my team a lot closer than people just browsing through. Fields looks like the fact that Nagy is not there is the biggest difference in the world. They have your quarterbacks coach, who is the offensive coordinator. So I'm like, okay, God, why does his name escape me real quickly?
The coach.
He's their offensive coordinator.
All right.
Yeah. So he's like, they're doing stuff that like me and you would actually coach a team to do when you know what the fuck the guy does. Like, oh, Fields can run. How about we move him out of the pocket and throw on the run? Nagy would like make him stand. It was like, oh, there's no offensive line. Let's make him in the pocket. It was retarded. It's like retarded things. So this offensive, Getsy is his name. He has him doing different things, and I'm like, oh my God. It looks like an actual player back there. Obviously, they do not have an offensive line. That is a big, big problem. And receiver-wise, they got Mooney, and then like a bunch of guys that you don't really know about, like draft pick-wise, and nothing much going on. If anything, they'd be diamonds in the rough if you found something. But that's the big problem: who you throwing it to and who's protecting you. Otherwise, it's one of those, they are doing that Lovie Smith type of defense, run, all hustle all the time, that kind of thing. So what I've seen is not, I mean, obviously they're not going to be, some contenders or anything like that. But, I mean, when it's 6.5 or something like that, like I wouldn't be shocked if it was 6. But for sake of that, I will say over and it's 7. But yeah, I don't think it's complete garbage.
Yeah, I don't recognize a lot of these names, but when I was I was reading around, and it's pretty much considered to be one of the worst rosters in the NFL.
Yeah,
and people are like, everywhere you read, like people are fans of Fields and Montgomery, but they're around like the worst offensive line in the league. Like, this is the NFL's worst offensive line, and they're even saying like that, Eberflus is a significant like coaching upgrade on Nagy, which is
you would be significant,
right? But it's consensus. Like a lot of these opinions are consensus. They're saying that he's a good coach. They're saying that
he's a very much a football guy. Like, it's one of those, like, he has what the initials HITS means, and it's hustle, intensity, all that shit. Like, he's very, very football. I'm football guy. But he has a good staff around. Like, he's not calling the plays. He's managing the team like a head coach should, instead of being like Nagy, who had his play call, and he's like, I'm calling the plays, I don't care, which then neglects all the rest of the team, doesn't do anything else, and he sucked at it. So that's where I see.
I mean, I think it's going to take some time to fix this. I think that they're fully prepared to go, 4 and 13 or 3 and 14. Sorry, 3 and 14.
Yeah.
4 and 13 this year. I think that they're looking at a rebuild. They've also lost Matt, Hicks, Goldman, Nichols.
They clean that house. Next year, they have the most money in the NFL to spend.
So they're beginning to clean up the salary. Like, was it Ryan Pace?
Yes, they're cleaning up his mess.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. So it's going to take a year or two. This is a dead season, and I think they will finish bottom, and I think they will go under this total. I don't think it even benefits them to actually beat the total. But obviously, we always say more logically that players don't think about it because they don't want to be told that they're shit, and they don't want to be surplus to requirements. So it's never the players that do that. But I just don't think that they've given him a chance here with this offensive line. Like, it's not going to be many weeks where they even score like 2 touchdowns. So
it's going to be run for your life and then hope something's open. And that's why there's going to be a lot of that rollout stuff where they're doing protection that way. Because it's not going to, you can't sit in the pocket. There is no pocket. Your division winner here is Green Bay.
Yeah, my winner is Green Bay. Yeah,
mine is Minnesota. I'm actually going with Minnesota. Balls over here, right?
What's your best bet here of the whole?
Oh boy, that's a fucking real good. Oh man, for that division, what is my best bet? You know what then? My best bet would be Minnesota over 9.5.
Oh, I was going to take that as well, but I'll take the Bears under.
Okay. Now let's go to the for the last of this show, which is your NFC special. We are going to the NFC West, where this is a very good division. What are the odds in this one?
Yeah, it was tighter before. The Rams have moved to a clearer favorite now, 6-5. It's 6-5 on them, 7-4 on the 49ers, 7-2 on the Cardinals, and 16-1 on Seahawks, who look like they're finished temporarily.
True. Yes, they have Geno Smith and Drew Lock as their quarterback, so it's over. Now, last year, LA had 12 wins. San Francisco had 10. Arizona had 11. And Seattle had 7. So this year's over-unders are LA is at 10.5. San Francisco is at 9.5. Arizona is at 8.5. They dropped from 11 wins to 8.5. And Seattle goes from 7 to 5.5. What are you thinking over-under on 10.5 for LA? I go for it. I think that's low. That team is stacked. And the only thing that gives me hesitation is Stafford getting hurt. Because we know he gets hurt. But the thing, he does play through an injury. But if he can't, it's a different, it's a completely different team.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I see a lot of people taking the under.
Really? Under 10.5?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was looking around yesterday and reading up on people I respect, which isn't many who do this, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people taking the under 2.5. Like for me, I can see it. Like they'll be explosive again with Stafford. He was number 1 in the NFL with 4.6 completed per pass attempt. He's throwing to Kupp, Robinson, Van Jefferson, but they've lost Von Miller.
And they've got Bobby Wagner. It's like, Jesus. They went from one to another, and they got, we know Odell Beckham's out, but then they got Allen Robinson. So it's like, Jesus. They didn't skip a beat.
Yeah. They've got a brutal schedule, though. And that's the thing. Like, when we were looking at other teams' schedules, we saw LA come up, and because they're the Super Bowl champions, you think that's a tough game. And I've, often given that as a loss to the other teams. But if you do play Bills, Buccaneers, Packers, and Cowboys, you're actually not going to win all of those games. Then that doesn't even include having to play everybody in the AFC West. Mm-hmm. So, and then also your own division too. I think that's I think because of the schedule alone, you go. Let me run through it because I want to be sure, at least before I just throw out the under here and try and just go along with people. So they start with Buffalo in week 1. A lot of people are taking Buffalo there. A lot of people
and they're favored. Buffalo is favored, but that odds thing too, right? That Super Bowl champion thing doesn't lose.
Yeah, the Super Bowl champion doesn't lose. Yeah.
That's a hell of a game. That could be the first game and the last game. How about that?
Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, if we give them that because they're at home, if we just blindly, we're going to blindly say here because they're going to be favorites in every game that we don't need to talk about the home games.
Sure.
Because we'll say that they'll go 8-1, right? We'll say there's a banana peel. We'll say there's a banana peel there, and they'll go 8-1. So if you look at the road games, do they win at Arizona? Yes. Do they win at San Francisco?
Arizona has their number. It's like that might be that split. How soon is the Arizona one?
Week 3.
Yeah, no Hopkins still. That's rough then. Okay, go ahead.
But I can have them losing in San Francisco. So let's make that loss number 1. So add that to the banana peel home game. So that's 2. Then I could see them losing in Kansas, which is 3. I can see them losing to Green Bay, which is 4. Then I could see them losing at the Chargers, even though Chargers are sometimes better away from home because they don't have any home fans. That would be 5, and that's 5 just giving them 1 home loss. So that would put them on 12-5. That does put them over, but also that means that you're giving them a lot of wins here at home against the likes of Dallas and Buffalo and who else? Denver, who are going to be good this year as well. San Francisco, the home game again.
They always lose to San Francisco unless it's the playoff game.
So, look, you're looking at this here and saying, look, if they really are 7-1, or is it 8-1? 7-1 or 8, or depending on how many they get, 7-1 or 8-1 at home, then they only slip 4 times. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for them to be 12-5. I think it's going to be borderline. It's going to be 11 or it's going to be 10, and for me, that's too tight to actually make a bet. I would lean on the under just because of the Super Bowl hangover angle, and think that there's more games that they don't turn up for. Look, if it could be key how they start, and if they do lose to the Bills, then I see them getting to 10. And if they do beat the Bills, then I see them getting to 11. It's really that tight.
It's very odd because whoever loses that game, the media on the other side, it's going to be the sky is falling for whoever loses. If Buffalo loses, it was everyone thought they're going to win the Super Bowl. We all better think twice now because they lost.
I don't think so. I don't think so because I think if they lose that, I think for Buffalo, if they lose that game, they just fall under the statistic of, everybody. The road team never wins us. Let's start again next week. Where if Rams lose, it'd be like, oh my god, the Super Bowl champion lost. They're not,
Yeah, I'm seeing it both ways. I just see because there's so much hype for Buffalo. I don't know anyone who's not picking them to win the whole thing. And it's in the radio, people, everybody, and it'll be like, oh, this was their tough test. And you know how people are going to blow it out of proportion where it's anybody loses to anybody, whatever. So you'll go slightly under because it's 10.5, so it might be 10.
Yeah, slightly. I think it's going to be bang on the number. It's going to be 10 or 11, because very, very generously I would give them 12. As I said, if they end up going 8-1 or 8-1 or I can't remember if they've got. So with this weird 17, with the 17 game thing, it's some teams have got 9. And some teams have got 8 home games. So it's hard to, but they're even going to be 8-1 and 7-1 at home, which realistically they're not going to be, because this ain't one of those home fields. This ain't Belichick and Brady's home field or Lambeau Field or anything like that. So San
Francisco 110, but they're at 9.5, right? This to me is, I think, Trey Lance does not pan out for them right away. That's why they re-signed Jimmy. And I think Jimmy could be in there come week 3. I don't think they're going to give Trey a lot of rope because this is a Super Bowl contending team. And the team knows they could win with Jimmy. And they don't know that yet with Lance. So this is real. I'm assuming Jimmy gets in there. And it's 9.5, so I'd say they're over that.
It's only 9.5. I got 10 here.
Yeah, they won 10 last year, and I saw it at 9.5. So I'm assuming they can get to 10 again.
Yeah, no, this is an easy one. I think with Trey Lance, so Shanahan's supposed to be this great coach, this great offensive mind, and he's got a full off season with this guy to mold him into whatever he wants. He got to sit on the sidelines as a rookie, obviously before, but now he gets this time with Shanahan, who will see how good he actually is. You start the season, you have matchups mixed in here with Bears, Seahawks, Panthers, Falcons in the first 6 weeks. So if you're not up to speed, you'll get those games to see where you're really at. He also gets a home game against the Rams team that Shanahan always beats, and he has beat them constantly over the last 3 years. So the schedule does get tougher, but the starts, if you're rusty or you're not quite in sync, look at the games you have to get it right. It's better than starting the other way around, where it's oh my god, you got Tampa and Green Bay and this team and that team. It's not. It's 4 wins you're going to win even if you play badly. Deebo Samuel, you got Deebo Samuel in this team. You've got Kittle. The defense is Warner, Bosa,
monster defense.
Ward. yeah, look, this is a really weak line. I think this is definitely over.
Okay. And then
I don't want to play this, and I don't want to play this fucking team in the
ever.
playoffs.
If Jimmy's playing, you really don't. Okay, so Arizona, 8.5, down from 11. You're way down on them because of the Hopkins thing. Do you think that they do anything? Do you think they get past 8.5? I think they do. I think they at least get to 10. I'm thinking.
No, I have them under, and it's from a position where they start from. So I initially have them going like 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from a 1-4 position, it makes it really difficult for them to go through. Additional metrics show you that Kyler Murray is much less effective when he doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins there. He starts with a 6-game suspension. Marquise Brown comes in, but I don't think that compensates for it. They had a bad offseason. They've lost the all-time sacks leader in Chandler Jones. Running back Chase Edmonds, wideout Christian Kirk. They've lost others as well. They play 4 playoff teams in the first 5 weeks, which is why I think they'll go 1-4. And they usually start fast and then fade away, but this could be like the other way around. So, yeah, realistically, I don't think it's going to be possible to hit this total with 4 in your first 5 games.
Okay, and quickly, is Seattle under 5.5? I say yes.
Yes.
Yes. That is your NFC preview. Oh, by the way, who's winning that division? Is it LA or San Francisco?
I think it will be LA, but sometimes when you gamble, you look for where the value is instead. With San Francisco being close to 2-1 and the Rams being at 6-5, and me having them both on 10, which I'm not sure what the tiebreaker situation then would be games against each other. Which the San Francisco 49ers could actually win both of those games. It's not beyond possibility that they would. I think I take San Francisco as an underdog. I think it's worth doing when I think the teams are relatively equal.
Now, before we close out this NFC,
who did you take?
Oh, I have LA. I have LA winning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If Stafford is not hurt, I don't know how they're really being stopped. A second year, he did the first year. He didn't even know these guys. He won a Super Bowl. Another year under the belt with these guys, I think that does wonders. Do you want to pick your who's going into the playoffs from the NFC, or did you want to save that?
No, we'll do that. That's
okay. So just shoot me. Now we have all your division winners. You have you picked Philly, Tampa, Green Bay, and LA. So who else is getting in the playoffs for you?
What, in order or just
the other people who the wild cards now?
Okay, so I think Minnesota will be better.
Okay.
And I think that they'll get there. I think the LA San Francisco division is really neck and neck. So obviously they both through. After that, it becomes tough. I think Dallas will have enough wins.
Okay.
I think Dallas will have enough. Then it's really difficult because, God, there's someone like Arizona or the Saints get in there with a relatively poor record. I think they could. I think someone like the Saints could get in there with 8 wins, which means a losing record team could get in here through the NFC. So I'm going to go for, it's really between the Saints and the Cardinals, because you don't take anyone else from our division and you can't take anyone else from the East. So I'll.
So did you put Dallas in or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Dallas.
So Dallas, Philly, Tampa, Green Bay, Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
LA, San Francisco. 2, 3, 4, 5,
7.
6, 7. That's 7. You're already done. Yeah. That's who you got.
Oh, shit, because, sorry, the number one doesn't play a...
They sit down. Who is number one for you then?
Number one for me would be...
Is it Philly or Tampa? Or is it Green Bay?
I think I could see it being Green Bay again.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that like Tampa will lose games and lose games that we worked out on there. For me, it's just a case of like how many of those difficult games do LA actually lose, because they're the ones that then win the division. Like San Francisco as well could come into that conversation. Obviously, they have to play each other, but it's really fucking difficult at this point. We haven't seen anyone play, but I would go on paper for Green Bay. I think that part of their problem has been solved. Now, obviously, you're looking at that and going, "Oh, but something they were really good at, like an out that they had, like Rodgers to Adams was an easy out all the time. Like it was like, okay, so it's third and we've been sacked, or it's 3rd and 13, or something like that sort of situation. I know where I'm going to go. This it's to safe it out. We don't have that, but we do also have. We're also going to have the best quarterback on the league being on the field a lot more, because the defense will get more 3 and outs. So yeah, I'm going to go for Green Bay, which you knew I was going to do that anyway. So
no, you didn't last year. You didn't think they would, and they did. You were like you were kind of down on them. So yeah, I don't think you're 100% homer when you're doing this kind of stuff. This is business. I'm going.
Yeah, it's also not. It's not just down to us. It's not just down to us, because look, I only have us projected at 12-5. I just don't think anybody else is that good. I think San Francisco are more of a threat. Like if they come up and they're good. But I'm a believer in Super Bowl hangover, unless you're the New England Patriots and Belichick and Brady. But I believe, like, even without being in that system, I believe that even Tampa had a hangover last year. They were nowhere near as good, especially in the regular season. So yeah, I'm a believer in the hangover, which is why I eliminate the Rams. I think like Tampa have lost a lot of pieces, and I don't think they've got enough in to compensate for it. And in the other division, I have Philadelphia winning it just.
Yeah.
They're like a new team that they're down to the easy schedule. Like, so if I'm picking someone to win a division because they're scheduled easy, when they make that step up in class,
that's what I felt like was with Green Bay last year. They were it was cakewalk, and then they played a real team.
The Eagles feel like a team to me to number 2 seed and not make it and lose the first game of wildcard week.
Yeah,
right. So that's the thing.
So my going is going to be Dallas, who wins the division, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, LA, and then your wild cards getting in is I said Minnesota would win that division. So wild cards would be Green Bay, San Francisco, and Arizona. And my number 1 seat, ready for this one? Dallas.
Hold on a second. So if you put Arizona in, who do you have out that I don't have in?
Philly.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like Philly at all. Like I said with Hurts, I don't like it. Your case has made me really think twice though, because I'm like, yeah, that's a real fucking easy schedule. But I'm worried about him as a quarterback. That's what it comes down to for me.
It's not normally with that wide apart where I don't just have them in the playoffs. I think they can win the division.
Yeah, you have crazy high and I got crazy low. It's like, geez.
It's crazy high. It's crazy high because they brought in a lot of people, and it's difficult to see them not being able to utilize that. While at the same time, like, I can't find the losses. Like, no matter, if they were playing against big teams, I'd be like, well, they're not ready for this. And when they come to the playoffs, like, I'm ready to bet against them. Like, I'm ready to bet. I'm ready to bet against the team that I genuinely think could be division winner contenders. Like, I mean, my main bet, let's not forget, was them to get over 9 wins. But when they come up, say for example, they are the number 3 seed, right?
Yeah.
And one of LA or San Francisco haven't won their division. Okay. Let's say more realistically in that scenario, they're number 3. And then they would play the 6, right? And it would be LA or LA Rams or San Francisco, for example. They would definitely lose that game.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I'm high on them like you're stating.
Yeah, I mean, you're high on the potential of the over for sure and all that. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you're not the only one. Like I said, and everyone in Vegas, that's the trendy pick right now that everyone is jumping on. So you're not the only one. All right, we will get out of here, but you also have the AFC preview show to listen to, folks. So check it out. If you're not on Lock Betting Podcast right now, just search Lock Betting Podcast. For Mr. Billy Body, I'm Cav Manning. Go check out the other show.
He could go all the way.